Thanks for stopping by at Twisted Art Designs. It's time to do our next layout for the Julie Nutting Paper Doll Altered Book. This is Series 2. There was a previous list of videos in my playlist. There's a playlist for this project, and it's got Series 1 to complete that book, and then we started a new book, so now we're on Series 2. So if you just found this project and just found me on YouTube, then go to the playlist in the description box and go all the way back to the beginning, and it'll show you how to select a book, how to remove pages, how to put sets of pages together and create some altered book things. And then it's going to give you some ideas too on decorating Julie Nutting stamps and things like that. So it's best to start at the beginning, but this is a great project because you can start anytime, you can take your time, and you can do it on your own time. There's no rush. If you want to join the Facebook group and show your work, we get inspiration from each other. So people have shown their pages, and then it gives other people ideas for their pages. Some people follow me along exactly. Some people are doing their own thing. It's great. It's so much fun. So let's get started and show you my idea for this next layout. So for this video here, this was the first video in this book. I used this Julie Nutting coloring book, and it's 8x8 size, and it's actually, they're on watercolor paper. So all the pages are really nice, thick watercolor paper with really cute images. I want to do another layout using two of those images from that coloring book that I'm going to watercolor paint like I did this. So they're going to be kind of the base for the theme for the page, but then I'm also going to do some fun things with just regular Julie Nutting stamps. So it's a project where you can use what you have and just wing it and do what you want. You don't have to purchase things, but if you do, there will be a link in the description box below for where I found the Julie Nutting coloring book. I'm also going to have a layout, a printout, digital printout that you can purchase in the Etsy shop that's going to give some extras, but again, you're not required to buy them to do this project. So the first thing I want to do for this is you have to come up and figure out your sets. Always be sure that you remove some pages so that your book doesn't gator. Now see, mine is already starting to gator a little bit, but that's because I've got some really thick things in here, and that's okay. I'm all right with that, but I'm going to need to remove some pages. So I'm going to remove some pages here so that I can make some space for my next layout, and then I'm going to do sets. So again, I'm going to use this side as the one side, and then I'm going to do either 2 or 3 pages together as a set, and then I'm going to use the pages that I remove from the book as another set. So that's going to be my first thing, is to remove pages and glue my sets together. These are the 2 pages I'm choosing out of the Julie Nutting coloring book, the Do What You Love and Eat, Sleep, and Play Paper Dolls. Those are the 2 that are going to be the theme for this layout from the Julie Nutting coloring book. So I'm going to go ahead and not on camera because you don't need to see me do that. You could use alcohol markers, colored pencils. This says right on it, pens, watercolor paints, oils, pastels, markers. It takes anything. It's really nice, very, very heavyweight cardstock. And it is watercolor paper too. So you could use alcohol markers with colored pencil over them. You could use watercolor paints. You could use the Arteza brush pens. They're water-based, and color them, and then use a water brush to blend things out and make them kind of fun and funky. There's so many ways that you could color them, and that would be up to you how you want to color your images. They are going to get cut out and trimmed and changed up a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to use these flowers or not. I am definitely going to use this part here with the girl and the saying. This whole thing I think is going to get used, but maybe changed up a little bit, like I changed this one where I layered some of the flowers and made them dimensional. So we'll just see as we go along. The first thing I'm going to do is remove my pages, put my sets together while it's drying. I'm going to color these 2 images, and then I'll show you my ideas of what I'm going to do with actual Julie Nutting paper doll stamps and how I'm going to decorate them to create this layout. So let's get started and have some fun. So I'm starting to work on this one and just coloring it with all different kinds of medias. I'm using alcohol markers, the Arteza brush pens, Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2, some watercolors. I'm just playing around, some paint pens, playing around and coloring this. And if you've been watching me for a while, you'll know I can't resist shoes like this that aren't laced. So look at, they've got cute little dots, which gives me the perfect place to use a needle and black thread or white thread and lace up those sneakers before I trim this out. Here's the little tennis shoes, and look what they look like laced. And so what I'm going to do before I cut those thin legs out, I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to cut this part. So that's what a tip is. When you have a little section like that, it's easier to cut it out when the page is solid before you trim out the outside edge. So I'm going to stop here and trim that out with my X-Acto and then keep working on fussy cutting around that paint blotch. But this is what it's turning out to look like. And I think I'm going to use some flock. I love her little beret, and I used a paint pen to make little scratchy marks because I wanted it to look fuzzy, but I think instead I'm going to put some glue on it and put some bright yellow flock on her little beret. So this one's ready to go on a background on the page. I did leave that section with the little paint blobs, and I added some Nuvo drops to make it look like paint actually dripping from her paintbrush. Put on the little ties on her shoes. I used yellow flock on her hat. Flock is just this fuzzy stuff you put glue down and you sprinkle it on, and then it makes it look velvety and fluffy. So I added some dimension to this. It looks really cute. Now it's time to work on this one, and I have a really fun idea for this girl that I'm going to try. So I want to make this girl's hair fun and dimensional. So what I did was I took 2 colors of alcohol markers and just did a little coloring for the background. And now I'm taking some embroidery floss. This is just DMC embroidery floss. If you want to know the color, it's color 783. It's kind of like a yellow ochreish color. And I'm taking a needle with kind of a big eye. I'm using all 6 strands. And what I'm going to do is some embroidery right on my card. So I'm poking holes first just to make it easy. And then I'm going to come in through the back. It's fun to use embroidery floss to embroider stitches onto paper. It works really well on paper. You can do borders and all kinds of fun things. Anchor it with a little bit of tape. So what I'm going to do is do the old French knot, where you come right down to the base and you wrap twice and go back down into the same hole that you started. And when you pull it through, you'll end up with a French knot. So what I'm going to do on this girl is I'm going to do little embroidered French knots. See how it makes a French knot on her hair. She's going to end up with the cutest little French knot hairdo. So let's do another one. I'm going to go up through the hole, just like this. It's kind of hard to do this holding it up and showing you. I have to set it down to use both hands, but I'm going to, let me zoom in here. Wrap twice, close to the card. Put your needle down back into that same hole. Back in the same hole. And when you pull it through carefully, look at that cute French knot. So that's going to be so cute to have her whole hairstyle be little French knots. So here's what she looks like with her hair all in French knots. It turned out so cute. I had the vision in my head, but I had no idea how darling that would be. Super easy to do. Probably took me about 45 minutes to make all those little French knots, but it was super fun. And look at that dimensional hair. It's so cute. So I hope you guys give this a try. And these cards that this paper is really nice and heavy duty, so you don't have any problem with tearing your paper, but look at that. So I'm going to just save these flowers in case I decide that I want to put them on my layout somewhere. I might want to, but for right now I'm just going to set them aside. I may or may not use them. And now I'm cutting out this girl. Look at how cute that turned out. And I'm going to use my little punch like in the last video where I punch a little tiny micro dot in the circle of each of these scallops to make it look lacy. So I'm going to do that all around the edge. But when you come to the top and you're going to cut around this that you have done the embroidery around the hair, just leave yourself a little gap. Be really careful and mindful not to cut those strings. So you can leave a little space because you can always go back in with that alcohol marker that you used as your base color and touch it up around the edges, but it's better to be careful not to cut your threads. So now I just took a little pencil, a little blue pencil, and made a little dot. I'm using this little micro dot punch, flipping it upside down backwards, and when you put it over the tab, you can see the little blue pencil mark, and that tells you where to make your little punch, and then it just makes it look a little more lacy. So here are my two little cute decorative pieces that are going to be the focal points on my layout. And now I'm ready to work on the altered book to add them to the backgrounds. So just to remind you again, to remove pages, if you're working in a string bound book, which you should be, you just want to keep looking into this little gutter here until you find the actual strings. So the strings, see them right here? This is the strings to the signatures. And then you can take the front and back page where the strings are and just easily remove them, and the strings stay put and the page pops out, and it's going to make some space in your book. So you remove pages that way, always where you find the strings. Now you can go forward some more and look for the next signature. I don't know how many pages that'll be to look forward and find the next place where there's strings, and that's going to be the next place. Here's strings, and I can remove some pages. So that's what you do, is just at those strings and the signatures, remove some pages to thin out your book. So I went through my book and I went through each signature and removed some pages, and it did thin the book out. So now it's much, much, much less gaitered. So you kind of just have to guess at how many pages to remove, but as you work in these pages, and you know, you're putting a lot on them, the interactive fold down stuff and all the dolls and things, and they do get thick, but removing pages helps, and this made the back of my book much thinner and much easier to work with. So I've glued my two pages together. Here's the side from this layout, and then I've glued two pages together to make a set right here. And now I'm going to put that aside and let it dry. And then I've taken 3 of the pages that I removed from the book when I thinned the book out, and I've put the 3 pages together to make another loose set. So this is 3 pages, and now it needs to lay and dry, and that's going to be the basis for the layout of the book. Okay, so I'm ready to make my background pages, and this is the 3 pages that I put together that were pages I had removed from the book, and I put them together to make a nice solid piece. This piece is going to go here, and this is going to be a tip out like this. We've done tip outs like for the koi pond where we tip up this way, and now we're going to tip in this way to have a fold out page. What I did was I cut off about 1/4 of an inch so that when it's attached on this side, you've got a little space. And the reason for that is when you close your book, it's not going to make your book really, really fat or gaitered. If it were all the way in that 1/4 inch piece were here and you connected this page, it's going to make your pages too thick and you might have trouble even opening this page. So cut off a little 1/4 of an inch piece and it's going to go here, and we're going to decorate this side and these 3 sides. So they're all going to coordinate with each other, and you can do your background any way you want. I think I'm going to do mine with paints and stencils and all kinds of things. Again, you have to be careful not to make it too decorative, because you want this to be the showcase on your page, not the background. So the background can be neat and pretty and fun to look at, but you want this to be the shining star. So I'm going to go ahead and add some paints and some stencils and things. I'm not going to show my process of that because I've shown it a lot in my mixed media videos. If you're new to the channel, go check out some of those videos to see some background ideas. But I will show you my pages after they're done, before I put them together and move forward with the next step, just so that you can see, and I'll explain what I did on the pages. So I think what I decided to do, what I think would look really, really nice, is to have 3 long stripes that go across all 3 pages, and then when you fold this over, have the same colors here too. I think that will carry your eye across the layout, and it won't be too busy, and this will still really be the focus, because I don't want to take away from my pieces that I'm putting down. They're just so cute. So I think to choose some colors, I'm going to use my Sarah Renee Clark color cube. I've shown this before. I love this for selecting colors. You go in and choose a card, and they give you colors to use that will look good on your layout. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is look for a color cube card. And I'll have the link in the description box below if you're interested in these color cubes. They're so fun. I've shown them on lots of videos, but I use them a lot, and I just think they make it so much fun to select colors, especially if you have trouble with that. Some people really have a hard time picking colors. Like, ooh, that's a cool one. Let me see. I hold that up to my... Yeah, see, look how cool that would look. So I think I'm going to use these 3 colors from, this is card number 198. Look at, oh, super cool. So I'm going to use those colors and find paints to match those 3 for my stripes. So I dug around in my paints and tried to find paints as close as possible to these colors. And this is what I came up with. And I think those will look really cool. So I'm going to do my stripes just in this order, just like that on the page. And I think I am going to use a ruler and measure my page and divide it into thirds instead of just eyeballing it, because I do want these stripes to be pretty uniform in size. So I'm going to just mark this off. It's about 9 inches, so 3. I'm going to mark it off so I have 3 inch, 3 inch, 3 inch of color all the way across. For my first layer, I'm going to put down white gesso just to cover up the book text, but I'm going to let it be a thin layer so that the book text kind of shows through also. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of in that, oh no, it's kind of an ugly stage. I'm not used to using such bright colors. Here's the card. They're really close. I think maybe this is a little bit brighter than this. That's almost the same, and that is too. But they're kind of bright, and I was thinking maybe I would even use some gesso on a brayer to like dull that down. But when I put this over it, look at how pretty it is. So I'm going to just keep going with it. That's kind of how this goes when you do art. And I don't want it to be so plain. So what I'm going to do, I think, is to find a stencil that's not wild and crazy and do paints that are similar to these colors and just put a little bit of stenciled image into each of these sections just to make them not so plain, but not to make them too wild and crazy. Just, you know, use just really thin paint and just a little bit through stencils, and I'll see what that looks like. But when I first saw it, I went, oh my gosh, I don't like it. It's too crazy. But it does make the images that I'm going to put on the page pop. So I'm going to leave it. We're keeping it going. Let's see what happens as we work. So what I did was to find 3 colors that are just a hint darker than the original colors on the page. And I'm going to just make my paint on my sponge very thin so that it doesn't come out really stark. It's just going to be a nice little textury pattern throughout these. So I'm going to go ahead and stencil, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So this is how it turned out, and I really like it. So see how there's just a little subtle pattern in each section, and I made them all the same so that they go across. I think I really like that. So that's going to be really pretty. And then when you turn it, it's going to be the same on that side. And a quick word of caution, always make sure that you look back to see which is the top and which is the bottom, because you turn it doing painting and stenciling and you don't want to make an upside down layout in your book. I've done that before, so live by me vicariously. So this is ready to be put together like this, but what I want to do next on the piece that's going to be on the end, this piece here, I need to decide, do I want this one or do I want this one to be, they're really both close to being the same, so I don't really think it matters. But here's my idea for this. Okay, so this outside pocket, that when you open the book to this part of the layout before you flip the page, this outside pocket, outside is going to be a pocket for the book. And I didn't want to do a solid pocket. I'm going to put decorated girls in this pocket, and I thought it'd be fun to see them. So what I'm going to do, I've got a piece of wide lace. I'm going to make a lace pocket that I can stick my girls into. So what I think I'm going to do is put the lace down, and I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and zigzag stitch around to make this pocket sewn on. If you don't have a sewing machine or you don't like to sew, you could also do that with glue. So you could glue it with 3-in-1 glue or Fabri-Tac, or even art glitter glue would work fine to put a little line of glue down the three sides and glue a piece of wide lace into place. I like the styling and the visual effect that it shows when I sew it. So that's what I think I'm going to do for mine, is to just sew my pocket on. But you don't have to do that. Do it whatever works for you. Use what you've got. And then I'll come back and show you what my pocket looks like. And I'm going to just leave it big and sew it first and then trim it, so then it won't shift or come out wonky. It'll come out just right because it'll be sewn in place, and then it can be trimmed down to size, and it'll make a beautiful pocket on the outside. So here's this page. I've put it all together and I've collaged the image. So for the Do What You Love, she's an artist, and that is my #1 favorite thing that I love, is making art. So what I did was a collage behind her. I did some paint blobs. I did watercolor paint that other paint blob that was up at the top of her head. I cut it off and moved it. So there's one here and here that came with this image in the coloring book. I've added some images, like there's a fountain pen that was out of a magazine, and I just used some ink to make ink dripping from it. Craftiness is happiness, and I put that little saying on there. These little things right here, the colored pencil, the paintbrush, what else? And the pastel. Those were die cuts from Art by Marlene that were in Happy Mail from my friend Mimi. So thank you, Mimi. They look great on this page. For that, I used colored pencil underneath it to make it look like the pastel is coloring. For these, for the paintbrush, I used Nuvo drops. You can see the drips. So wherever there's a paintbrush, I made Nuvo drop drips like real paint coming off the paintbrushes. And then for the palette knife, I had that out of a magazine. I just took some gesso and did some palette knife gesso right there, just making it look like the art supplies are doing what they do. So there's my Do What You Love page. And I'm sure you're getting the gist of where we're going with this. This is going to be a Do What You Love layout. So I've created this collage sheet, and this is for Do What You Love. There's all kinds of fun things on here that are circles to add to your dolls, like this, for decorating them and doing a Julie nutting doll of something that you love to do. So there's adult coloring, yoga, reading, shopping, beachcombing, cooking, arts and crafts, sewing, chilling, travel, gardening, exercise, and crochet, hiking. So it gives you a whole bunch of different ones to play with. And there will be a link in the description box below if you're interested in purchasing this collage sheet to go along with your girls. So for the girls that I'm going to use for this layout, you could use any Julie Nutting paper doll stamp. So dig through what you've got, use what you've got. And the concept here obviously is do what you love. So this one, this is Madeline. And she is already a travel girl. So if traveling is what you love, then I'm going to put together Madeline. What I'm going to do is with the stack of suitcases, I'm going to decorate her, and then I'm going to glue her next to the suitcases to make it all one image so that she's a travel girl. And so that one will be really easy to do, a travel girl for her. This one is cute. This is Bree. And she's in her robe and slippers, and I'm gonna have her with her morning coffee, and that one will be for do what you love, just chilling and relaxing. Maybe that's what you love to do. So these other girls, you could do whatever you want with them for a theme, but I've got some really, really fun theme ideas for do what you love, and I'll show you that after I create and decorate these girls. So I've said this before in other videos, but I'm going to mention it again if you've just found this video, that I use file folders as my base. I like how stiff and sturdy they are, and I like the color of them. I use the Dilutions by Rangers journaling block as my stamp base. So for Madeline here, I can just take her and stick her to that journal block. It makes a really nice stamp platform to stamp her out on my cardstock, and then, you know, stamp her onto pattern papers and things and layer her. I'll do her hair in a colored cardstock, probably a black or a brown or something. I'll add fancy ribbons and things to her hat, but the suitcases, I'm going to stamp those onto watercolor paper and watercolor paint them. So just be creative and put your girls together. In the beginning of the video, I showed how to do these little French knots with embroidery floss to make that cute hairstyle. And I used embroidery floss. This one was Angora embroidery floss, and I did some French knots around her little bangs, and then I just went around with my needle, coming back up in the same hole to make a different type of a hairstyle with embroidery floss. So that's just a really cute and fun way to decorate your girls. I used embossing powder around the hula hoop and heated it up and melted it to make her hula hoop look real. So that's how my girls are coming along. And I wanted to give a shout out to Tammy V. Tammy sent me some new and used Julie Nutting stamps, and I wanted to just give a shout out and some happy mail from Tammy V. Tammy and her husband choose an artist each year to sponsor, and they chose me. So they just sent me a brand new Canon Mega Tank printer to use for doing my paper dolls. So I just wanted to give a heartfelt thanks to Tammy V and her husband for doing that, and for the wonderful random acts of kindness that I've had happen this year. So just feeling very grateful and wanted to say thank you. So here's the printout, and with like my girl here for the hula hoop girl, I'm gonna cut out this circle for exercising. So here's the printout, and with like my girl here for the hula hoop girl, I'm gonna cut out this circle for exercising. If you purchase these sheets, they come in, the download that you get comes in both PDF and PNG, so PNG files and PDF files. The PNG file is if you have a Silhouette or Cricut where you can add the file to your Cricut machine, and it will cut these out for you. It'll print it and cut these out. I don't have one of those machines, so I don't know exactly how they work, but I do know that that's the type of file you need, is a PNG file, and so this does come in that. If you don't have it, you just print it in the PDF format. I do print on cardstock, and then you just fussy cut them out. So here's what that looks like with the hula hoop girl, Mandy, with the word exercising, and then this one, as I showed earlier, she's got a coffee cup and her little fuzzy slippers on. And this one is the one that says chillin'. So what I'm going to do for that, it's got a little scallop border. I'm going to take my little punch And I'm going to go around that scallop border and just punch a little dot in each one to make it look more lacy, and then glue that behind her. So I think you see where this is going, that each one that is going to be decorated in a theme can have a nice little circle behind for the word of what it is that you're do what you love word. So that's how it looks so far. So I took the Mandy stamp, that's the hula hoop girl, and I created her minus the hula hoop. So I cut it off there, and with this part that goes across, I just trimmed out the top and then used that to trace onto another piece of paper, so I didn't have that line going through it. So the reason I created her was that I could have a girl with her arms out. So for the shopping do what you love, I added a purse with some glitter and some shopping bags for Macy's and Tiffany and Company, and made my shopping girl out of the Mandy stamp. So that just gives you another idea of a different way to use the same stamp. Here she is for exercising, and she's got her hula hoop, and here she is as a shopping girl with lots of shopping bags. And I used the Becky stamp to create the reading girl. And I added a book in her hand, so I drew a little hand over a book, holding onto a book, and then a stack of books. So I added books. I added the reading collage piece from the set and made her into a reading girl with a book in her hand and a stack of books next to her. For this cute one, I did sewing. That was the sewing collage circle. I love that one. And I made the girl, and then I put her behind a sewing machine on a sewing table. I added a piece of cloth underneath the needle, and then I added some thread to the top of the spool of thread and threaded it across and down into the material so it looks like it's really threaded. So that's just a really cute, fun way of decorating that to make a sewing girl. So that just gives you another idea for creating a sewing girl. You could go online and find a sewing machine and just download it and print it, and then put your girl in front of it or behind it to make a sewing girl. And then I added the fun little interesting things to it, like the material and the thread. So I hope these are giving you some inspiration and some ideas for decorating. Okay, so I sewed on my piece of lace. Here's my big piece of lace. I sewed it with a double row of zigzag stitch down this way, this way, this way to create a pocket. And this is going to go right here. This is going to be my flip out. And when we've done a flip out in the past, we've put either Styvek tape or material or book text or something down the seam on both sides, usually material, to make it flip really easily. Like, let's go back here to the koi page. So that was done with material across to make the flip. This time I'm going to do something a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, this is some silk ribbon, and silk is nice and strong. I'm going to take a ruler and mark probably 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch and go about maybe 1/4 or 1/2 inch inward on both of the pages. And then I'm going to whip stitch it with a needle and this silk yarn to stitch this page on. The yarn or the ribbon will hold it in place and let you turn the page, and it won't be glued together like the last time, so it's going to be a little bit different. But I'm going to just mark with pencil, use my little tiny hole punch, the micro hole punch, to punch little micro holes to make it easy to sew. And then I'm going to put the ribbon on a needle, and I'm going to whip stitch it through to whip stitch this page to this page. And then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done so you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so to show you what I'm doing, I've turned that page over. I've lined up the little holes that I've made. And so I'm just sewing this through by going through. I've got them on top of each other, and I'm going from one hole to the hole that's underneath. And you don't want to pull it tight because you don't want to rip your pages, and you want it to have movement for it to be able to open and close like a hinge. So I'm just loosely pulling those. So that's what I'm going to do, is go all the way around, going in each hole through both pieces. So here's what that looks like. I've glued my paper doll girl into place. I used some of the flowers that match this, that were around this outside edge, and put them over here to tie the 2 pages in. I put "or just," and this says "eat, sleep, and play paper dolls." And then you open it and there's the pocket inside. And then I made this little half dome thing, and that is going to be for my Do What You Love girls to perch on, kind of like this. And what I'm going to do with this is use Velcro dots. These are adhesive Velcro dots. On the book itself, I'm going to have the loops. I'm going to have these are the loops. I'm going to have the other one that's the fuzzy side. And I'm going to put it about here in the center. I'm going to poke a hole through it, and I'm going to put a brad through it, which is going to go through to the next page. But when I do this page on the back side, whatever I put there will cover the back side of the brad. And the reason for that is when you're taking your girls on and off of the Velcro, it won't tear your paper. It'll keep that loop in place, keep that circle in place, so it won't rip through or rip off of the page as you add and remove girls. So now that's on there with a little brad, but I use the bigger one so that it will hold. And then what I'm going to do is on each girl, on the back side, is just put down on that circle, you put down the loops, you peel it so it's sticky, figure out where your girl's going to go in place, and then press down, and that'll put it onto the back of the girl. So now you've got the loops on the back here, the hooks here, and you can stick her into place like that. So it's a Do What You Love girl, do what you love, and this one is sewing. And then I can remove her and add a different one. So this one's going to be the Reading Girl. And the same thing, I'm going to peel the one with the hooks, put it upside down onto this, Velcro them together, put her into place, and then it'll stick to the back of the doll. And then she'll be in place in the right spot each time. So now I've got the Reading Girl, and you can remove it, and then they can be stored. That's what the pocket is for. You can store your Do What You Love girls in the pocket. So you can slide them in here in this cute little lace pocket and pull one out and put her in place. So Do What You Love, and let's see, how about shopping? Let's put the shopping girl in place. So I can stick her on and Do What You Love shopping. Look how cute this is. So cute. So Do What You Love. We've got shopping and reading, exercising, chilling, travel. Each girl will have a Velcro dot. The girls can all be stored in the pocket. Then the pocket closes, the page closes like this. Or just eat, sleep, and play paper dolls. So that's it. I hope you love this layout. It was fun to do. And it uses the Julie Nutting watercolor booklet. I'll put a link in the description box below for that. I know some people had already purchased one for this layout that we did with the window and the little booklet. And so this was in that book, and you can use this if you want to play along and make this eat, sleep, and play paper dolls layout. So there's that, and then I'll have a link in the description box below for the page. The page, here's just a few of them, the page of Do What You Love collage sheet. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope that you make this layout because it was super fun. with our Julie nutting paper dolls, and you can decorate any dolls that you have to make them things that you love to do and to put them in the middle. So be creative, use what you've got, and make some Julie nutting dolls in your altered book. Thanks for playing along. Go make art. Art soothes the heart.